Hungry Dads.
Welcome to Hungry Dads, your guided tour through the delicate and often overwhelming balancing act between food indulgences and social acceptance. And now, as always, here are your hosts, Rod Budget and Hugh Gallen.
Hello and welcome to episode 36 of Hungry Dads. I'm Rod Budget.
I'm Hugh Gallen. Hello, hello.
Hello.
So, Rod, there's really nothing to talk about tonight until I congratulate you. You are a hungry dad once again for the third time.
Hungry Dad times 3, thank you.
So, congratulations. Mrs. Budget gave birth to a bouncing baby boy. What's it been, a few weeks now? 2 weeks ago?
About 11 days.
11 days ago. So congratulations, and I am very anxious to speak with you about everything that happened, mostly about the food that happened, the drink that happened, how it factored into the planning, perhaps. I know we packed a bag. I know for me that bag included food. I don't know if that was a consideration for you. I had a lot of anticipation. I was going to get to the hospital. The baby could be born any time. What was I going to eat? When was I going to eat it? What was the food situation at the hospital? So I have a lot of questions.
I feel like with births and deaths, there's a lot of food around, just in general. There's a lot of people around. Okay, first of all, spoiler alert, everybody's doing fine. Everybody's healthy.
Good.
Everybody's doing great. My wife went into labor in the morning. You really don't go to the hospital. I didn't know this before I was married and started having kids. If you go to the hospital too soon, even though you're in labor, they'll just send you home or just make you wait. So we hung around the house and called we have a doula who helps with the birth and does the things that I have no clue about and can't give support, which is great. So we hung out in the morning and then things started picking up a little bit, and my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, was here and was gracious enough to offer to go out and get some lunch before, we were to head to the hospital.
So labor's already started. This is your third time around. You guys are pretty comfortable in your own skins here. Comfortable enough to order lunch while your wife is laboring.
Exactly. We're experts. We've been through this.
Interesting.
So she runs out to a place called Tropical Smoothie, which we have down here. They have sandwiches and smoothies. I opted for just a smoothie, and it's kind of one of these places where they market themselves, and a lot of people get them as health things. You can add like flax or whey or a protein, things like that. I, of course, go to the category of menu called the indulgent smoothies, they're quite delicious. They're basically, what I get is the Blimey Limey. It's basically every kind of citrus juice mixed together with a bunch of sugar, and it tastes wonderful. My mother-in-law got the smoothies, came back, and things had progressed. They were getting pretty serious by then, and we decided it was time to go to the hospital. And I got my smoothie, started drinking a little bit of it, took it with me, helped my wife into the van. We already had the bags packed in the back. I'll get to that in a bit. By the time we pulled out into the driveway and into our neighborhood, things had progressed pretty significantly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Significantly? What do you mean by significantly?
The pain level had grown with the contractions immensely.
Oh.
Unfortunately, we have speed bumps in our neighborhood as well, which did not help things. And the doula drove separately, so it was myself and my wife was in the back seat in quite active labor. It's about a 15-minute drive to the hospital, so I never really thought we were in danger of having a kid outside the hospital, but at the same time I was doing like 120 down the interstate in the minivan, weaving in and out of traffic as my wife is screaming out in pain.
Ooh.
And they're getting pretty serious by the time I'm exiting the highway and turning into the parking lot. So I park the van in front of the hospital and get out and look for the doula who was following us, and I don't see her anywhere, so I'm kind of...
She wasn't keeping up at 120 miles an hour,
Exactly.
perhaps.
She was driving very fast. She was doing her best, but she had to park her own car kind of in a separate area, because I pulled up in the little circle area where you drop people off.
Area.
Exactly. And at that time, I hear my wife kind of yelling, "He's coming! He's coming!"
Whoa.
Which, I mean...
You don't believe it necessarily.
Yeah, I didn't really believe it, which is bad to say in hindsight.
I believe she believed it, but logically, there's no way the baby's coming.
Yeah, because with our second child, it was similar. I mean, we waited to go to the hospital, and she never shouted, the baby's coming, but she was in a pretty good deal of pain as we entered the hospital, and it was still another hour or two before baby came there. And then I
Has anyone greeted you yet?
No one had greeted us, and I'm kind of, yeah, in my mind, my big dilemma is, do I run inside really fast and say, hey, get somebody out here right now?
A woman's having a baby. It sounds kind of fake.
Exactly. Or do I stay with my wife and, deliver the baby? So I popped my head out, and fortunately, our doula was making her way towards the van at this time, and I waved her kind of over frantically. And as she arrived, I went in to get help, and when I came back out, there was a baby.
Wow.
In that, 30 seconds, literally.
Holy
I couldn't have been
cow.
gone for more than 30 seconds.
Did you bring anyone back out with you, or did you just walk in and yell?
I didn't, because the only people, there's a desk right inside, but they're just kind of office workers. And I said frantically, we're having a baby out here. We need somebody now.
and I'm willing to guess there's been people who walked in and said that, and they were not having a baby. It's just a dad who's freaking out.
The actual doctors and everything are on the third floor. So
right.
But of course, I'm not thinking things through. I want a doctor right now.
Of course.
So I go back out and find a baby on my wife's back in the back of the van with our doula doing the back blows and getting him breathing. And
my God.
He started breathing on his own pretty quickly, and everything appeared to be okay, but there was still no one coming out. So I went back in again, and I was just like, we need people. There's a baby out here. And at that time, the elevators opened, and this whole contingent, they were walking. Then I did the whole third base coach waving them, and then they kind of started believing that there was a baby out there. But I want to bring it back to food. We are about food after all. And there was a photo taken by my mother-in-law, who also parked and kind of walked up on the scene after the fact and started taking pictures because I think she knew what had happened, or maybe she stepped back. I don't remember exactly, but there's a photo that we'll post to the website, which is pretty humorous. After baby is out of the van and the nurses are surrounding the baby, and I'm in the back of the van. I don't know what I'm doing. I think I'm hopefully comforting my wife, but I'm not delivering the baby or anything. And then I noticed after the fact that my smoothie is placed gently and delicately atop the van where it's not going to spill. It's in great shape. I do not remember even carrying the smoothie at any point, putting it on top of the van. During active labor, I saved the smoothie. And I think it just shows my passion for food, and my subconscious was working this whole time. Even while my wife is screaming and I'm stressed out going inside, at some point I took that smoothie and I set it gently on top, and I enjoyed that smoothie afterwards.
Safely and securely. You see, in this story of the babies coming, you put it together in that sitcom scenario. The smoothie's supposed to spill. The smoothie's supposed to get thrown or dropped or on someone's head or something crazy.
Or at the very least, I just forget about the smoothie and I come back and it's melted and it's not edible.
There's some literary theories about if you introduce an item into a narrative, it has to pay off. And this smoothie was there for some disastrous effect, except for the fact that you valued this smoothie so much that you protected it, perhaps more than the baby who was arriving on this earth that day.
Wow. When you put it like that, it sounds bad.
What was this one called? A citrus mistress?
Citrus mistress. That's something else. No. This is Blimey Limey.
The Blimey Limey. You opt for a smoothie. Now, was that strategic in any way related to the way your diet was at this time? Was it strategic to the moment?
I think I had a couple of reasons. Number one, I wanted something quick. I kind of in my mind didn't want to mess with sandwiches and chips because I was worried that I wasn't going to be able to finish, or it would take longer to order maybe, or for them to prepare. Even though I didn't feel super rushed at that point, I knew we were kind of on the clock. Secondly, I thought I was going to be eating a lot later in the day.
I think you nailed it in that decision. Number one, the smoothie is portable. It's filling. I think it's a low risk option. If you get a sandwich or something a little bit heavier, and the first thing I think about is I might end up having a stomach reaction, and the timing of needing to head to the bathroom in the coming hours, that might be a compromising decision. So something like a smoothie that maybe you trust is going to settle through your system kind of clearly, but still fill you up. I think that was a solid decision. Not to mention the fact that you don't have to abandon it to get behind the wheel.
Right. It clearly was not abandoned.
Well,
But
congratulations to the entire
yes,
budget
thank you.
family.
As I said, we'll post the actual picture on the website where you can see the smoothie resting comfortably up on the van.
Now, I've seen this picture, and you're in the back of the van doing something, and my remark was actually that it looked like you were setting up for a tailgate or something. I mean, there were some people living around, and you were in the back. I imagined it was going to be like a cooler of beer.
Yeah, baby's here. Let's pop out the keg.
Like a little electric grill. Nothing major, but enough to have a nice parking lot event.
Celebrate. Yes, we delivered baby number 2 at the same hospital. Very familiar with the food selections around there. My wife did pack a bag of snacks for herself, consisting of some things that I like, some that I don't. I didn't pack anything specifically for myself on purpose because I just knew that I would be running out getting food. I would be running to the cafeteria getting food. The snacks I were going to pack were from our house. I said, hey, I want to get stuff while I'm out of the house.
Right, something different. You had some opportunity. Yeah, I think that's actually a very good call, because if you pack that stuff from the house, then when you want something, you're going to have to get that. But if you don't pack anything, then the world is your oyster. And I suppose the reason you could do that is because you knew the environment you were stepping into. So well planned.
Yeah, and as I mentioned before, births are time for eating. Everybody's hungry. I do a lot of sympathy eating. So I knew there would be a lot of food. And one good thing about having the baby outside of the hospital room was, it was over with. We got up there and it was like, let's eat, I'm hungry. Hungry Dad!
So, Rod, the thing I'm most excited to ask you about is the hospital food. I really love any kind of institutional food, and I can't quite put my finger as to why. Anytime food is cooked in a large amount and then doled out, I don't know. I really am at a loss as to explain it, but I can take a couple guesses when it comes to hospital food why I enjoy it so much. And the first thing that comes to mind is it's always like just the great temperature. It's just warm. It's not too hot. It's sat in its own steam for a while, maybe because they have that cover that it comes on. And it just has this great temperature to it. It's always just right. And that's really all I can come up with, other than it gets delivered to the room, which is nice. But it's always like meals that you assume they're pretty healthy because they came from the hospital. But and yet I find them extremely tasty. So tell me about the hospital food. I can't wait to hear about it.
That's great. I don't think I share quite your passion. I enjoy hospital cafeterias a lot. I find them very exciting, and I think it's because there's a little bit of unknown going in. You never know kind of what you're going to get, but there's always a lot of good variety. But I'm glad you brought this up, because I actually tracked the hospital food meals that were served to my wife while she was there and sampled them. And before I get into that, I just have one overall strategy with the hospital food. If you're with someone like my wife who isn't necessarily a hospital food enthusiast, I think she likes some things but not others. I think you can pretend like things are gross. Like if she thinks it's bad, be like, yeah, that doesn't look very good. And then you kind of take it over to the side table and graze on it a bit and say, no, this isn't very good. But you take several bites, and then you're still running out for food later because it's not like you ate the whole thing. The first meal was dinner. Our child was born in the parking lot just after noon, so by the time we got up there, it was dinner. She was served fried chicken with some roasted potatoes and a chocolate cake. And she liked this. She ate it all. She was obviously hungry from giving birth. I'll take it back. She did not eat it all. She did not eat the chocolate cake, which was very tempting to me. But I did not eat it either because I didn't want to have it held against me potentially. That I was already, kind of eating the cake off of her plate. Yeah. And then I'm going to want to run out for food later.
Yeah, because if you go for that, you might forego the next time you want to go out. It's like, well, didn't you just have that chocolate cake? So you take that cake, you forego the next meal, the next snack.
Exactly. I kind of prioritized the trips running out over the hospital food, so that kind of played into that decision. Next up, she was served French toast for breakfast, which she said was good. She ate it all. I tried it. It was good. It was French toast-ish. It was fluffy, had syrup. What's not to like? It was
If you'd
good.
have been served that French toast at IHOP, would have been satisfied with it, or was it not as good as like a,
I think it was as good as, an IHOP. I don't know if it was like a nicer place or someplace known for their French toast. I probably would have noticed, but hey, it tasted good to me. For the next meal, which was lunch, she sent me to the hospital cafe, which was exciting. She was served turkey with mashed potatoes and dressing, kind of a Thanksgiving thing. She didn't like it at all. I tasted the turkey. It wasn't great. But I went down to the cafe. and she wanted 2 vegetables, kind of sides of vegetables just to eat, which I got. I went with some chicken fingers and ranch sauce, which were excellent.
That is a great choice. Wow.
Yeah, I think if you can get something deep fried anywhere, it's going to taste delicious.
Yeah, that's always
and actually, there was a nurse in front of me ordering who got the chicken fingers, which I didn't even know existed. I didn't see them on a menu anywhere. And I thought, she knows what's going on.
Nice.
She's got the inside scoop. So
pay attention to the locals and the staff.
That's another good tip. See what the doctors and nurses are in there ordering. So that paid off in a big way. For dinner that night, she was served beef stir fry, which was kind of ambitious of a hospital, I thought.
Yeah.
My wife did not care for it. The beef was a little chewy, but it had good flavor. This is one where I was kind of like, yeah, that doesn't look good. It's gross. And then I ate a decent amount of it because it was salty. It was rice. It was beef. It tasted pretty good. I don't think it was high quality, but it tasted good. So in addition to the hospital food, we also had some food from the outside world. And keep in mind, this whole visit was 48 hours, so there was a lot of eating going on. These were meals in addition to meals, or if my wife didn't like the hospital food, I ran out. For first dinner, I went to Wendy's, which I had already planned out because my wife loves Frosties. So that's an excuse for me to go get Wendy's.
Sure.
I got like a double with large fries and a large root beer, and it was delicious.
Nice.
And then our local supermarket is Publix, the big chain down here. They have excellent subs at their deli. And I went out and got a big old sub for us each, turkey, cheese, all the fixings. It was wonderful, and I took the opportunity to covertly have a Mountain Dew in the car on the way back, which was my first Mountain Dew in quite a long time, and it was excellent.
You earned it. Wow. Well, that's fantastic. Now, I just mentioned how much I love the hospital food, and that is true. I ate all my meals that came that the dads got, hospital meals, at the hospital I was
What?
at. Yeah, the dads got meals.
Feel cheated.
And I ate mine, and whatever my wife didn't want, I ate hers too. And because of this, I just didn't opt for an opportunity, and I still regret it to this day. There was a vending machine that sold hot sandwiches. It was, I think they were like hot cheesesteaks, and it wasn't one of those like, you know, it's like a little window where you can pick different sandwiches or
like
an
the
apple and orange. It wasn't this.
Yeah.
It was like a soda machine, like an opaque covering that said hot sandwiches.
Wow.
And then you just pushed a button just like on a soda machine, and I presume a sandwich came out of it. I never got it, and I passed by, and I regretted it. And so I remember saying, this is our first child, and we'd plan on having 2 someday. And I said, you know, Mrs. Gallen, when we have our second, we're coming back here. I'm getting that sandwich. You know, guys, as we're rolling out with our firstborn, this was my commentary to her, and I made this vow. And
that was top of mind. That's all you could think about was a hot sandwich as you're rolling out of the hospital with your firstborn child.
And then we moved months before the birth of our second child, and we did not go back to this hospital. And so
now, is the vending machine in like a public area where you can access it, or do you have to be admitted to the hospital?
I'm not sure.
I think you need to get back to this vending machine. You got to injure somebody. You got to hurt somebody so you can go visit.
I don't recall it being in a particularly public place. I don't know if I could find it again if I wanted to. Wow. And I don't know if it even still exists.
How does it even work? Did you like examine it? Is there a microwave kind of inside?
I can picture it. No, it was, I think I got the impression that it came out hot right away in my memory. And this this could so definitely be a false memory, but I feel like it was warm to the touch.
It sounds like a fire hazard.
I feel like it was like a tiny little furnace keeping sandwiches the perfect temperature plausible. Inside. And in my imagination, at the push of a button, the sandwich rolled out in the same way a can of soda would.
I guess it's electricity. It's like a little toaster oven. Probably.
Maybe it did microwave it, but there was no window with which to see what was coming out, which was really which was really what made it attractive to me. If it was like a little window where you saw it, I mean, that would just.
Now, were there little buttons like for different sandwiches?
Yeah, I think there was a ham and cheese, a roast beef, a meatball sandwich.
Oh, jeez, a meatball. That would be
amazing. I have one major regret from the birth of my child, and is not getting this vending machine hot sandwich. And I suppose that just speaks to my love of hospital food, because I really did look forward to and fill up on the hospital food each time. And I suppose I have no regrets in that regard.
Next time I'm in New York, and I will be in New York again at some point, We should seek out that vending machine.
Honestly, I'm with you. We will go back to the hospital. We'll look around for it.
I'll feign an injury if needed.
I will break your kneecap.
Hungry Dads.
Rod, I need to start this segment with a bit of a dilemma. A friend of mine recounted a brief story to me, and I thought, wow, that's an interesting story for the Hungry Dads podcast. And then I was struck with another problem. Do I tell this story as if it's my own, or do I just say a friend told me a story? Now, the problem here is that I truly think the story's better if I say it's mine. And there's no reason I can't make this my own. It'd be believable as my own. But it seems a little dishonest just to take someone's story for themselves. So what advice do you have as I tell the story? Should I say my friend told me a story, or should I just tell it straight as if it's me?
I would tell it straight. I'm unethical.
All right. So this crazy thing happened to me a few weeks ago. A coworker came and he was like, "Hey, does anyone want a McMuffin?" It was 2-for-1 McMuffins. And it caught my interest, but I hadn't responded yet. He pulled the Egg McMuffin out of his pocket and like waved it around and offered it to people.
What kind of pocket? Like a big
like his front pocket, like his front pants pocket.
And a McMuffin fits in a front pocket. Wow.
Yeah, it did. I mean, I guess they were like, business pants, like loose enough to fit a McMuffin in there. I mean, I didn't notice a McMuffin in his pants before he said anything. And I had two distinct thoughts. And the first one, of course, is the obvious one. Would you accept a McMuffin from a coworker's pocket?
Ooh, a front pocket at that. I might. McMuffins are really good, and if I was hungry and if I was at work and didn't have anything, maybe I skipped breakfast, I would probably accept the McMuffin.
I think I have a very real answer, and the answer is, in this case, it was offered in front of a lot of people, and if I took it, then everyone's going to know I took the pocket McMuffin.
Right.
But if this person had walked into my office unseen by anyone else and kind of casually pulled it out and it wasn't an obvious pocket McMuffin,
whipped out the McMuffin.
If I was hungry, I probably would have taken it. So that's one answer.
Yeah, I agree. There's social consideration.
Social consideration. Of course, it depends on who the person is. I mean, if they're like a really upsettingly sweaty, gross person, I'm not going to take the McMuffin under any circumstances.
It might even depend on the kind of pants they're wearing. If it's
agree.
A nice looking pair of pants, well pressed, maybe slacks, I think that makes a difference. If it's like jeans or some sweatpants. I'm not taking it from sweatpants.
I'm not taking it from
sweatpants
or jeans, because jeans are going to be too tight.
Yeah, that's too tight.
And if it was like the side of a cargo pants, even then, definitely then. If in case anyone is unsure here, the McMuffin was in its wrapping. I mean, it wasn't like a loose McMuffin. it was in its paper.
I'm assuming
it was in its paper casing.
Well packaged.
The other question that I thought was relevant here was, if you got a 2-for-1 McMuffin, who isn't eating both of them?
Yeah.
I mean, you're already going to McDonald's for McMuffins. You're not on some kind of health kick. Who can't eat 2 McMuffins? That I almost think is the more probing question. It
is bizarre. It sounds like an eccentric person at the very least, based on those two things.
Let's definitely not put this in the show, but I would eat a McMuffin from your pocket.
Hungry Dads.
With my father-in-law, for the first, year or two of visiting, every time we woke up, he'd ask if I wanted him to make waffles, because he had this waffle iron. And I always said no, thinking I was being
in the
polite.
Beginning, you don't want to.
I didn't want to don't pull out the waffle iron, make it batter. It seemed like, now in retrospect, I realized, and knowing him better, he desperately wanted to get that waffle iron out. He desperately wanted to make waffles, and I always turned him down, thinking it was the polite thing to do.
But you were insulting him.
It was basically like letting him down because he wanted to do it. And now he has not offered me waffles in at least 5 or 6 years.
Right. Like,
I am reminded all the time of, man, I would love some waffles right now, but I'm not going to bring up the waffle thing.
He sold the waffle iron in a garage sale.
Conversely, the first time my father-in-law asked me if I wanted to go golfing, I said, no, I don't golf. And he's like, well, you can learn. And that was kind of the threshold where I was like, I held my no, I maintained my no, I reinforced my no, and he was of course being polite. I mean, truly, it was genuine in every way. There was a few more polite asks, and now he clearly doesn't ask. We're so much better for it, because there was a stage of the relationship where I would have felt pressure to say, yes, that would be good time together, a good experience. He loves golfing. It's his main thing. Maybe it's important that his son-in-law play golf. Who knows? But I really I played it straight and honest and selfish.
That's the way to do it.
If I'd have expressed a modicum of interest early on, I think I'd be having to go golf like once a year with him or something. And at this point, he'd hate it and I'd hate it, but we'd both be doing it.
It's true.
I said no to the golf. Good choice. I said no to the waffles. Bad choice. So
they do.
If any of our listeners are on a threshold of a relationship with their in-laws, think long and hard about what you say yes and no to, because there's consequences.
Hungry Dads. Visit our website at hungrydads.com. Follow us on Twitter at hungry_dads. This has been a Hungry Dads production. I don't know what happened. It's like I swallowed dust or something. I swallowed like a grain of sand.